Okay, let's end on something positive. You're shooting for Mars. What do you think that's doing for people? Because it's kind of, I don't want to step out of my box here, but it's really interesting to me to watch you do this, because it's preposterous, right? It's a preposterous thing to do, to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And yet, I was old enough when the moon landing was happening to remember what that was like, right? It was an adventure, positive adventure, everybody could participate in. It was an unbelievable technological accelerant, and it was a mark of faith in the West, I would say, right? In the might of the United States and the upward aim. And so I know you're playing, I don't mean in the game-like manner, that's what you're tapping into. What do you think you're doing with the Mars venture?
Well, the Mars venture, I think, is part of the expansion of consciousness beyond Earth. So, I mean, I want to be clear that I don't think we should apply some vast amount of resources to Mars. I'm talking about less than 1% of our economic output should go to making life multiplanetary. But it is a natural extension of expanding the scope and scale of consciousness. So I think we want to do everything we can to make sure that Earth is going to be great for a long time, as long as possible, but also allocate a small amount of resources, like I said, less than 1% of our economy, to extending life beyond Earth, and ultimately to other star systems.
Right, and so that's perfectly in keeping with what you described at the beginning of our discussion about the manner in which you resolved your crisis of faith as a child, your commitment to the validity of consciousness, your desire to, what would you say, facilitate its transformation, development, extension. That goes along with your pro-human ethos, right? So that's all thinking from first principles. Yeah. So I think you are stuck in the religious camp, one way or another. So,
like I said, you can call it. I don't mind it being called a religion, but I think.
Yeah, well, I came here at least in part today to find out what the hell your religion was. So I want to end with this, if you don't mind. So I also asked you why you trust yourself in relationship to AI, and you said, well, I don't entirely, and so I thought that's a good answer. But I mean, more broadly, like, you have a lot of admirers. There's a lot of people who are hoping that you're the guy that you, what would you say? That you're the guy who can do what you say you're going to do. And there's lots of evidence that you can. It's like, you think it's reasonable for people to trust you?
Well, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't say trust me entirely, but I think on balance, my track record suggests that I'm fairly trustworthy.
What elements of it do you think suggest that particularly?
Well, I've built a lot of companies that have done useful things.
Yeah, you've built a lot of impossible companies that have done useful things.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an existence proof of sorts.
Yeah, and
do you accept the validity of entrepreneurial striving as an indicator of ethical conduct, which I think that's valid.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to recruit great people to work with me to build these companies. I think if I was like a really bad person, they wouldn't want to work with me. I think like one of the tests for assessing someone's character is to look at the character of their friends and their associates.
Yeah.
And while people can put up a mask themselves for their character, their friends and associates will not.
Yeah.
And so you can judge a person's character by their friends and associates, and to some degree by their enemies.
Right.
If evil people hate you, well, you might be doing something right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Much appreciated. Very good to talk to you. It was a real privilege.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
You bet.